Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap Up. Joe Samaniego with Adam Lemmery, Joshua Birch, Ben Schneid, and of course, Kobe Landis from the podium finish. We will discuss the Russian Grand Prix and the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach and the crowning of a new IndyCar champion. We first start off with a fortunate tragedy to report. During the Supersport 300 World Championship, a tragic accident occurred on lap 11, turn 1 of the Jerez circuit. Dean Berta Vinales was fatally injured after his bike slid out of him, left him in the path of oncoming traffic exiting turn 1. The race was immediately red flag, and 2 hours later, the news nobody in the motorsports community came out that nobody wanted to hear. The remainder of Saturday's activities were canceled. Dean is cousin to MotoGP rider Maverick Vinales and raced for the Vinales racing team. Sadly, Dean is the third upcoming rider to pass away in a similar on-track accident. In May, we lost 19-year-old Jason Despatel at Mugello during the Moto3 qualifying, and then in July, we lost 14-year-old Hugo Milan at Aragon during the European Talent Cup race. Dean was 15 years old, competing in his rookie season, and his best finish was fifth on the Magny course in France. We send our thoughts and condolences to the Vinales family, friends, and everyone personally affected by the passing of Dean. We'll be following the news and reporting on future updates on Grid tonight. Tough to transition to continue our coverage of today's racing activities. We encourage everyone to comment and share their thoughts and feelings on what happened. Always hard to process such a traumatic experience during the race weekend. Today, about 30 minutes ago, Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach wrapped up the 2021 IndyCar season. Colton Herta won the Grand Prix of Long Beach, but the big story was Palou taking the championship.
And the Grand Prix of Long Beach saw several full course cautions, with the first one coming on lap 1 for Sebastian Bourdais stalling, but everyone had their eyes glued on Pato O'Ward. Ed Jones tried to dive bomb James Hinchcliffe in the hairpin, and his front wing punted O'Ward's right rear and spun him exiting the hairpin. Jones got a penalty, but O'Ward's race was ruined from that point, ending his championship hopes. The second caution came out for Pato O'Ward, who came to a stop at pit exit, which from the damage caused of the hairpin from the contact with Ed Jones. O'Ward said he wished Jones had been more respectful for the championship contenders, and it's fun in a way. It's funny this happened because Adam and I we talked about this just yesterday, wondering if other drivers would treat the championship contenders with more respect on the racetrack, and obviously Ed Jones did not do that for Pato O'Ward. So in your guys' opinion, is Ed Jones fully at fault for this incident? Should have been more aware of his surroundings? Should Arrow McLaren SP have looked at that right rear in the pits during the first caution?
Yeah, immediately when that caution came out, I actually said that in the watch-along commentary that I was doing, and I said that we mentioned it yesterday, and of course we showed the Grid Network preview we did as well, so they knew it, we knew it, and sort of like we were expecting them all to sort of give way to the title fight. I think people were saying as well in the chat, it was hot head for lap 1. You cannot win at Long Beach on that first lap. It is a long race. It's a difficult race. So, yeah, in my opinion, Ed Jones was 100% at fault there. He went for a maneuver on the inside that was never going to go. I don't know what he was thinking as well. He tagged the back of Pato O'Ward, just the slightest of touches. It sent him round, had a knock-on effect as well because Alex Palou hit the back of Ed Jones as well, and then Palou got a whack up the back from Ryan Hunter-Reay as well. So it was just a Constantino effect that had damaging repercussions on the championship for Pato O'Ward, because there was a strong chance he could have actually taken the championship today. As soon as he dropped out Newgarden, we sort of all knew it was impossible, and it was Palou's title. So I think we were robbed today, and I think Ed Jones, I said in the commentary, and I'll repeat it, he might want to go around wearing his crash helmet, because I think there might be a few punches swinging his way later on in the paddock. Let's hope there is a fight, though. That's typical IndyCar, isn't it? It's more NASCAR, really, but yeah, Ed Jones for me, 100% at fault.
Yeah, Josh, just to add, I don't really know, even if McLaren had taken a look in the pits, it seemed like the drive shaft was pretty badly broken, although credit to the mechanics for getting him back out to at least finish the race. And I know it was kind of meaningless for a championship, but not finishing last. But yeah, I mean, Ed Jones, just, if you're in that kind of situation, you've got to be smarter than that on lap 1 of any race, let alone when you're in the championship. season finale fighting with a championship contender. Just really not a smart move on his part, and I hope he goes and takes a look back and tries to learn from that, because, even though it was always Palou's title to lose, we always knew it was going to take an absolute miracle for Newgarden to win it, although he was up fighting for the win, so it did make it a little bit interesting, but, really, Ward was the only one who had a realistic shot of truly challenging Palou for a championship today, and had his race ruined on the first lap through no fault of his own. So it's just a very unfortunate situation.
Yes, definitely a really unfortunate situation. I totally agree with you guys. Ed Jones was totally at fault there, and that was the one thing that didn't need to happen. He didn't need to hit one of the championship contenders. Although even if the incident didn't happen, I'm not so sure if Patou O'Ward would have won the championship anyway over Alex Palou, because Palou's just had a really strong, consistent season, winning races, leading a lot of laps, and Alex Palou's just a real deserving champion. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we're going to be talking about Patou O'Ward fighting for an IndyCar championship. And Joseph Newgarden was leading the opening stint, but after the third caution, Colton Herta got around and pulled away to win the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Newgarden finished second and Palou fourth, claiming the championship. At what point of the race did you know Palou had the championship in the bag?
Pretty much first lap. Like we were just talking about, it was unfortunate what happened with Ed Jones there. But the way the math needed to work out, you knew that Joseph Newgarden had to go out and pretty much lead the most laps and win the race to have any prayer of catching Alex Palou, and even then you needed Palou to be the one that fell out right at the start rather than Patou O'Ward. So once O'Ward was taken out of the race there after contact with Ed Jones, it was pretty clear that it was all but certain. I mean, Adam's been saying on this program for a couple of weeks now that Palou's already got one hit on a championship trophy. It was virtually a lock after that contact happened. So like I said, it's unfortunate, and it's tough to be an Ed Jones fan today, I guess, because your driver really did kind of rob us of a good championship fight. And I know Palou always had one hand on it, but just really a little bit of a letdown. There was a lot of momentum building for this weekend, a lot of momentum in the series right now, and to have it ruined on lap one, it's just an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I'll completely agree with you, Ben. Lap one, when Patou O'Ward got that damage, and then immediately after when he went the second caution, I think that basically ruined his chances to win the championship. He had a really strong year all year long, but to see him go out like this, I feel so sorry for him, his whole team, all his fans. I mean, we all wanted to see a championship battle between Alex Palou and Patou O'Ward on the track, but unfortunately, Ed Jones had to ruin it for everybody. But I have to say, Patou O'Ward, this won't be his first chance to win an IndyCar championship. He'll be strong in future years to come.
To be honest, I thought Alex Palou had one hand on the championship coming into here. I thought he was going to win the championship before the race even started, to be honest with you, unless he had an absolutely chaotic disaster, which didn't happen. But the disaster happened on Patou O'Ward's part, like Adam was saying. It was really unfortunate for his team, for Patou himself, all those McLaren fans out there. It was a rough day for McLaren across the board, especially what happened over in Russia with Lando Norris. But overall, I think Zach Brown, everybody at Aaron McLaren SP can smile knowing how their season went, and they can take everything they learned this year and build an even stronger program in 2022. And kudos to Alex Palou for winning a championship in his second full-time season as an IndyCar driver. And it's really crazy that a driver who's only been in the series for only two years can go out there and perform as strong as he did. And another driver who might be one of the championship favorites next year, Colton Herta. He ended his season on a really strong note, winning 2 in a row. And overall this season, consistency really hurt his standing in the championship. But all season long, Colton has shown a lot of speed. And when he can put an entire race together, the result is likely going to be a victory. In your opinion, is Colton Herta the early favorite for the 2022 IndyCar Championship?
I'm going to have to say yes, but it's too early for anyone to say. Yesterday on our pre-show, we talked about the moves that Romain Grosjean is going to Andretti Autosport next year, and bring his longtime engineer from Dale Coyne Racing. I think that's a huge advantage for him. So to me, Colton Herta is an early championship contender, but if this is any indication of what IndyCar is going to be like down the road, next year's championship could be just as intense as this year's.
Completely agree with you there, Adam. We're in a little bit of a golden age, aren't we, for IndyCar? The youngsters are coming up as well and making their name in the sport, and the old guard is still there. It's happening all over the place. We keep mentioning it as well. It's fantastic to see. But yeah, at the end of the commentary as well, I turned to Megan in the commentary box and said, who do you think is going to be next year's champion? Make a prediction. The first name, Colton Herta. And I completely agree with it as well. He seems to be the favorite already, rummaging around. If he can get that season consistency in, win more races as well, and get in the high end of the points, top 5 finishes constantly, podiums as well, race wins, I do not doubt in my mind that he can lift the Astor Cup at the end of next season in Laguna Seca. My prediction, I think he'll win race 1, he'll win the 500, and then towards the end of the season, he'll do what he did again here, and he'll win more races as well. I think he'll win a total of 5 races next year, including the 500, and he'll take the title by 5 points. If I'm right, that's a miracle, but I think he could take it. But it'll be a close one, as you say, Adam.
Yes, I think the championship battle next season is definitely going to be one to remember. Colton Herta definitely carrying the most momentum into 2022. Sure, Alex Palou will be strong as well to defend his title. Pato O'Ward will be back. Maybe we'll see Scott Dixon even get back there in the mix. I'm sure we'll see Newgarden run as strong as well. And who knows what Meyer Shank Racing have up their sleeve with Elio Castroneves running full-time next year. Showed some good speed today at Long Beach, although he didn't get the result that he wanted. And rumored that Simon Pagenaud is going to be in that 60 replacing Jack Harvey next year. 2 former Team Penske drivers running full-time at the organization. We could see them take a major step forward. And overall, it just seems like IndyCar is a series to be right now because there's so much momentum. You have drivers from Europe on the Formula over there in the Formula One scene looking to come race over here. Yeah, with some rumors, Tatiana Calderon, who raced in Formula 2 and Super Formula, there's rumors that she could be with AJ Fort racing next year with her sponsor Roadkit, which currently sponsors Sebastian Bourdais' number 14 Chevrolet. And also Dan Ticktum, the Formula 2 driver, is also looking at potentially racing in IndyCar next year, among a lot of other drivers from Europe. So definitely IndyCar has a lot of momentum heading into 2022, and there's still a lot of pieces to the puzzle to solve for 2022 regarding silly season.
A lot for silly season, and a comment from the chat room about the officiating today, probably referencing to when we saw Pato O'Ward go out, no caution for quite some time. Definitely is something we encourage everyone to continue sharing your opinions and share your questions with us on the air. One of the races where we saw a ton of activity on social media was the Russian Grand Prix, and intense and unpredictable and a very much unforgettable Russian Grand Prix. A lot of people have said this race is sort of one of the duller races of each year. Not this year, as Formula One has been all year long, action-packed races week in and week out. And the big thing, Lewis Hamilton earned his 100th career win in Formula One and got the points lead, but by only 2 points because Max Verstappen came home second place with an incredible result to allow only that 2-point gap, considering going from 20th all the way to second. Brilliant effort, but of course the rain at the end helped him gain more positions. He was one of the first people to make a pit stop to switch to the intermediate tires. One of the last drivers to do that, Lando Norris. He had stayed out, hoping to get that maiden Formula One win for him, but the rain just kept coming. He could not pull off what Brad Binder did in MotoGP. Spun out with a couple laps ago and had to make that pit stop, falling down to 7th place. Now, one of the interesting things, both he and Lewis ignored the team orders to pit for intermediate tires the first time. The next time around, Hamilton pitted because the team insisted, come in, get those wet tires. McLaren They let Lando Norris stay out because Norris wanted to stay out. Why didn't McLaren do what Mercedes did and tell Norris, you have to pit this lap?
Yeah, well, thank you, Humperdinck, for first of all bringing that IndyCar point up. Very tough week to be a McLaren fan, and mentioning what happened in qualifying yesterday. Pato O'Ward probably should have been in the Fast Six, and who knows what would have happened if that had been the case, and what would have happened on the start. In terms of what happened today with McLaren in Formula One, I was kind of surprised that they weren't a little bit more assertive in bringing Lando in, and I was also surprised that it took the rest of the field as long as it did for them to come in and change on to the intermediates. I would have thought for sure maybe somebody running outside the points with nothing to lose would have made the gamble and tried a little bit earlier, knowing what the weather forecast looked like. Hindsight's always 20/20. It's extremely tough to make that call in the moment. And if you're Lando Norris, you feel like you've only got a few laps left. The weather's at the point where it's only drizzling, the track's slick, but it's not a total downpour. Maybe you can try to ride it out. But obviously, given what happened and what we saw, how bad it got at certain parts of the track, with Lando eventually sliding off the track entirely. Obviously, the right call would have been to come into the pits, and assuming McLaren could have gotten him out, like a usual pit stop, they didn't have any problems there. Probably would have won the race today, and that would have been huge momentum for them. McLaren not having won a race for 8.5 seasons, to be able to go back to back after Daniel Ricciardo won in Monza. That would have been absolutely huge for that team. And unfortunately, they don't even end up on the podium. Very difficult day to be a McLaren fan, like I said, but at the same time, it's really easy for us to sit back on our couch and say, well, they should have pitted. Obviously, knowing what we know now and what we saw play out, that would have been the right call. But, Lando's a young driver. He doesn't want to, give up the lead of the race necessarily to come into the pits if he doesn't think he has to. Obviously, it was the wrong call, but I don't know if you can fault him too much. He's younger. He's not as experienced as Lewis Hamilton is. And, ultimately that opened the door for Lewis to get his 100th win, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later, which was, truly amazing to see what he's been able to do. But I've got to think Lando's day is coming. You look at how strong McLaren have become over the last couple of years, how strong Lando looked today. Had the race stayed completely dry, probably would have, been able to hold Lewis off anyway. So, I think Lando's day is coming, and he'll be a Formula One Grand Prix winner in the not too distant future.
I've got the advantage of having the timing screens up here in the comms box as well. So throughout the race as well, when the rain started to come down, in the manic of not jumping around watching TV pictures, me and Megan were jumping around like headless chickens at the end of that race as well. The last 5 or so laps was just, it was raining. We had literally every monitor was flashing different information. I had on one towering monitor different orders of the entire field. It was showing Alonso in 3rd, then he was in 8th place. It was flashing up and down. We had the driver tracker not working, then working and going haywire as well. The iPad was flashing on. Then we had a red flag come out as well. I thought, okay, that's it, race over, because the rain's too heavy. And then it came back in again. So the race was stopped, and then it wasn't. I found out later a lightning bolt hit the track as well. So systems are going haywire over here in the UK. I cannot imagine what it was like over there in Russia for the teams as well to try and deal with all that. So maybe that explains what my point is, that McLaren didn't see what I was seeing, that in the sector times, the first lap that the drivers went on intermediate, so Verstappen, they were about 4 seconds a lap slower. And that's when the Mercedes and McLaren had the radio call to come in. Hamilton and Norris ignored that the first lap. They did it again. But on that second lap time, it was actually the fact that the Verstappen and everybody else changed over was 2 seconds a lap quicker. So the change to inters were quick. So I heard over my radio the message to Hamilton, as you all did, box now, come in. But on the pit lane channel that we were hearing, if you were watching along, you might have heard it as well, was the fact is that Lando was adamant, no, I am not coming in, I'm staying out. And of course, later on that lap, he goes off the track into the wall. McLaren need to be more firm with him. They let Lando decide the future of the race. If he'd pitted, he would have kept the win of the race as well. He should have pitted the same lap as Hamilton did, which was the next time around. He would have had the race win as well. I said it in commentary as well. This is a race that Lewis doesn't really deserve to win. It should have been Lando's, but this is a race also that Lando let his ego get on top of him as well. That will hurt a lot. He's lost his first win because of a mistake he made himself. It's going to hurt a lot more, but that's also going to give him the drive more, because what this weekend has proved is that last week or the week before in Italy wasn't just a flash in the pan for McLaren. It wasn't a fluke. They are genuinely back, and they genuinely have great race winning pace. It's fantastic to see. I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the last 8 races of the year. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do as well in 2022. McLaren are back. Today proved it. So did last week in Monza. And definitely Lando is now hungrier than ever for his first win. Remember, this happened to Leclerc in Bahrain. He won in Belgium. It happened as well to George Russell. He hasn't won yet, but he's going to Mercedes. It happened as well. Carlos Sainz had his first win as well, stolen away from him as well. The Twitch quartet as well don't have great things, do they? Even Alexander Albon got hit off. And what's the one constant in all of that? Oh, yeah, Lewis Hamilton.
Amazing, just considering everything that happened in this race. Very exciting race. The rain, it's been interesting. Before Spa, I felt like people were talking about, we'd like to see a rain race. It's going to make it more exciting. Spa, well, it ruined the race. For a lot of McLaren, a lot of Norris fans, they probably wouldn't be wanting any rain anytime soon, especially when their driver's already out ahead, because that rain really shuffled the order towards the end. Max, he pitted really early. That gave him a lot of position, a lot of time as the others stayed out. This allowed him to just be only 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton. The next race is the Turkish Grand Prix. Last year, Lewis Hamilton, under wet conditions, he won this race on some really old intermediate tires. This is the race where, of course, Sergio Perez got around Verstappen, and Verstappen went first spin. So not exactly when it comes to Turkish Grand Prix, it seems like it could be something favor Lewis Hamilton. However, Red Bull Honda coming from 20th to second place. Sergio Perez, he was within striking distance of Lewis Hamilton for most of the race. Do you believe the win today is a confidence boost for Mercedes? Especially since you're going to have to compete against the Red Bull for the remaining 7 races?
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a big confidence boost for them because they haven't won since Silverstone, and they've been a bit here or there as well. They haven't really had the great car performance as well. Even in the Belgian Grand Prix, there never was. They didn't have a great car. So this is a big confidence boost. It's also a big boost for Lewis as well, because that 100th Grand Prix win has been haunting him all season long. We all knew it could happen this weekend, this season, sorry, but it never did. So he's got it out that way now. He can now go forward and get more. But I think going into Turkey, as you mentioned, last year it was wet conditions. We must also remember that even when it was dry in practice on the Friday, they were slipping around everywhere because the track surface, the bitumen underneath as well, the oil came through the tarmac as well, and it glazed the surface. Now, I've spoken to some people who are in my eSport capacity who are at the Turkish Grand Prix circuit as well. They live close by it. No work has been done. They have not resurfaced it. It's exactly the same as it was a year ago. So we're going to go to Turkey, and everyone's going to be slipping and sliding around as well. It's going to be fantastic. If we get more wet weather, then definitely count on Lewis Hamilton. He had that pace on those intermediates. But don't forget, Aston Martin were quick last year, and Lance Stroll almost had the race win. So we're going to Turkey again, and it's another who's going to win. It's another one. It's what I'm loving about F1 in 2021. Anybody can win a Grand Prix. You don't have to have a Red Bull or a Mercedes. You can just have a regular back of the seat car and you're going to do well. Why change the regulations? I'm finally having fun with this one. But yeah, this is going to give them momentum in the last one. They now lead the Constructors' Championship as well, Mercedes. I said earlier on in the review show, I think Mercedes will win the Constructors' Championship. I think Max Verstappen will win the Drivers' Championship. And there's not a lot to it. There's 2 points between them now in the drivers.
Ditto. Josh, I pretty much agree with everything you just said there. I was thinking of the same thing with Lewis, finally getting his 100th win. If that was, kind of a mental thing for him, having to go multiple races, not winning a race. Now he finally has that milestone taken care of. He can focus fully ahead and try to put the hammer down for the rest of the 2021 season. Although, you see the graphics with, just the point standings, how tight it is between Lewis and Max Verstappen there. It's still way too early to call it either way. And, I think we are really, like you said, Josh, witnessing, one of the best seasons, certainly that I can remember. I really started following Formula One around the 2015 season. To see a true battle between two different constructors. We got some good battles with Lewis and Nico Rosberg. But this is shaping up to be an all-time classic season. And like you said as well, you've got teams like Alpine with Esteban Ocon and McLaren finally returning to the top step of the podium. Matthew Gallagher of WTF1 said, by the time we get to Abu Dhabi, we'll see a Haas 1-2. I don't know if we're going to get to that point of craziness, this season, but it's certainly been refreshing to see more teams up there, but we haven't normally gotten to talk about the last few years. It was just at the midpoint, last year when Pierre Gasly won at Monza for AlphaTauri. We were still on that stretch of Kimi Räikkönen for Lotus in 2013. That was the last time Mercedes, Red Bull, or Ferrari, of the three of them, they weren't the winners of the race. And now McLaren's back. Racing Point / Aston Martin got their win with Sergio Perez last year. Alpine with Ocon, and Aston Martin's looked very good with Sebastian Vettel too. You think maybe they could eke out a win, depending on how things go this season. It's been so fun, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the year. It's going to be really great to see the battle between Mercedes and Red Bull continue to play out. And, this is a huge confidence booster for them. But Red Bull could come back and win the very next race, and we could be on the seesaw once again. It's just so close. And, we really have two evenly matched teams and two evenly matched drivers, and that's exactly what the sport needs.
Yeah, the competition between the two have been just really close. I mean, the competition in the midfield, McLaren, Ferrari, that's been really great. And today, with everything we saw, Hamilton being sixth place, first round pit stops coming, he continues to stay out in the track rubbering now, extend those medium tires, really changed a lot in the race and the championship effect. Of course, we got 7 races left. The TBC race, which we anticipate will be Qatar. So a lot to happen in Formula One as they count down towards the championship, and also count down towards the championship. IMSA and their big championship effort race at Long Beach yesterday.
And yesterday on Grid Live pre-race, we said for Action Express to have a shot at the DPI title, they need help from the other two Cadillacs. And we were absolutely right. It feels so good that we were finally right for once, because usually a lot of our predictions on Grid Live pre-race are way wrong. But Felipe Nasr and Pipo Derani dominated the entire Long Beach race weekend, fastest in both practice sessions, pole and qualifying, and led most of the race, taking the checkered flag. At the start, Felipe Albuquerque took Lloyd Duvall and Dan Cameron 3 wide on Shoreline Drive, trying to take the fight to Cadillac entering turn 1. It was a good move by the Wayne Taylor racing driver, but Cadillac's dominance was just too strong, with Action Express Racing, Chip Ganassi Racing, and JDC Miller Motorsports sweeping the podium for General Motors. And heading to Petit Le Mans, the gap to the DPI Championship leaders is down to 19 points. Wayne Taylor Racing's drivers Felipe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor still at the top, but Felipe Nasr and Pipo Derani will have a lot of momentum. Petit Le Mans is basically going to be a winner-takes-all season finale between the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura and the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac. And with Cadillac dominating Long Beach like we predicted, do you think Acura and Wayne Taylor Racing will feel the pressure when IMSA heads to Road Atlanta in November?
Of course. Like you said, Kobe, yesterday, we correctly had Cadillac sweeping the podium. Overall, those 3 Cadillac teams got a lot of momentum going into the season finale, the 10-hour endurance race known as the Petit Le Mans. Acura and Mazda are going to have to find something in. Otherwise, it could be Cadillac having another race win in that historic race. And I'll give the fans some really cool information about number 31 sponsor. Whelen Engineering is based in Chester, Connecticut. So it's pretty cool to see a New England sponsor having a shot, to win an overall championship, because like I've said in the past, I'm from New England, so this is pretty cool to see. And I believe that number 31 overall will win the DPI class in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series Championship.
Yes, and I think Acura will definitely be feeling the pressure in Wayne Taylor Racing, because going into Petit Le Mans, they're going to be outnumbered, because you have to remember right now we only have six full-time DPI entries, and three of those are Cadillacs. And Petit Le Mans, we're going to see the number 48 Ally Cadillac come back with Jimmy Johnson, Simon Pagenaud, and Kamui Kobayashi. So that's going to be an extra number. And Sports Car 365 is reporting that we could see Chip Ganassi Racing bring the number 01 Cadillac, the 02 Cadillac, a second Ganassi Cadillac for Petit Le Mans to prepare for the two-car effort next year that are going to run full-time in IMSA. So if we get an additional Cadillac added to the grid, that's going to make it even harder for Wayne Taylor Racing, because they'll have extra Cadillacs there taking away points from them and battling. And with only two Acuras and all of those Cadillacs, I think it'll make life a lot more challenging for Wayne Taylor Racing when we get to Petit Le Mans. And GTLM, another Corvette 1-2. This time the number 4 Corvette CRR, Tommy Miller, Nick Tandy victorious over Jordan Taylor and Antonio Garcia. The GTD Championship leaders in Long Beach ran into trouble after Robbie Foley got in too deep, crashed into the tire barriers while battling another competitor. The number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW suffered damage, lost a lot of time, finished 16th in a class that only has 17 cars, and lost the championship lead. And so they're going to really need to step it up at the next round at VIR and Petit Le Mans if they want to have any shot at getting back in the championship hunt. And the number 1 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini won GTD at Long Beach, a huge win for Brian Sellers and Madison Stone. The next race is October 9th at VIR for the Michelin GT Challenge. Only GTLM and GTD in action. Then Motul Petit Le Mans with all 5 classes at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta on November 13th for the 10-hour endurance race.
For the first time ever, the NTT IndyCar Series, the champion hails from Spain. Alex Palou capturing the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series Championship with a 4th place finish in the Grand Prix of Long Beach. He becomes the first Spaniard to win the IndyCar Championship and the second driver to win the IndyCar Championship in their first season with Chip Ganassi, joining Juan Pablo Montoya in 1999. First time the number 10 has won a championship since Dario Franchitti in 2011, and the 14th championship for Chip Ganassi Racing when you combine kart and IndyCar. And of course, for Alex Palou being 24-year-old, he is one of the 7th youngest IndyCar champions in the history books. Joshua, starting with you, you were calling the action today on your watch-along. How was Alex Palou's performance today, and your thoughts on his championship?
Oh, it was faultless driving today as well. The only bumpy part he had was when the accident at the hairpin as well with Ed Jones and Pato O'Ward as well. But honestly, it was a perfect drive. He knew he didn't have to do aggressive maneuvers. He knew he didn't have to challenge for anything. He just drove it calm and like a champion as well. And definitely, he gave us some heart-stopping moments as well. Coming out of pit lanes, he was dicing with cars as well, still trying to go through. He's still a racer, of course. He wanted to overtake when he felt like he had the pace and did so. He finished 4th in that race. He could have easily finished 3rd, just ahead as well. But overall, I think his championship has been fantastic. He won the opening race in Alabama. Then, of course, he won at Road America, won in our own watch-along commentary we did on the Grid Network, of course, at the race you were at, Joe, as well, in Portland. And it has been a bit up and down, hasn't it? He was Mr. Consistent for the first half of the year. Then he fell into some bad times. He had the engine failure in Indianapolis. That really put his championship on the ropes. And then he crashed with Scott Dixon as well and Venus VK at Gateway. And that was like, oh, God, we were thinking that's it. Championship's done. He's thrown it away as well. It's all gone. It's all done. But no, came back. He had a bad race in the first half at Portland, did the overcut and got it ahead as well. I think it was you, Ben, who said in the wrap-up show, you don't think after the lap one we saw where everyone was diving off the track, Palou included, that he would be the one to take the win. He did it perfectly as well. This championship, I think, it's obviously going to be a bit of a messy one, but it's a champion's drive he drove today, and I was very, very happy. And he's also Spain's first ever IndyCar champion. So 24 years old, who knows where this kid could go?
Yes, Carl. I actually watched the watch along on Josh's YouTube channel as well, and Alex Palou overall this season has been really consistent. He started off by winning the Grand Prix of Alabama at Arbor Motorsports Park, and I believe if it wasn't for the crash at Gateway, I believe he could have wrapped up the championship even before Portland. Alex Palou has been strong all year long, Mr. Consistency. And to me, I don't believe this is the first championship he'll win. I believe he'll be a strong threat next year and many years to come. And our colleague Joe can say he interviewed the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series Champion for our coverage of the Grand Prix of Portland. And if you haven't had a chance to see any of the coverage, go to our YouTube channel because it was incredible to be part of Josh's watch along for the Grand Prix of Portland. It's one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me in motorsports overall. So what a way to wrap up this year. And Alex Palou, congratulations to him. And the people in Spain are probably going absolutely crazy right now.
As Adam said, definitely check out our coverage from the Grand Prix of Portland, including our interview with Alex Palou, who is the now brand new NTT IndyCar Series champion all season long. It was Palou versus O'Ward, two of our IndyCar drivers' youngest out there. Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, they got third. Once in a while, we were talking about them getting a championship, but they never really seemed like the big threat in years past. It was always O'Ward, Palou, O'Ward, Palou. Ben, Kobe, how would you rate this championship battle between Pato O'Ward and Alex Palou?
Yeah, I just spent a few minutes talking about how great the F1 battle is. The IndyCar Series battle, I think equally as much. A great season for both Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward. O'Ward in particular doing it like I've been mentioning recently on the program. It's been a long time since we saw somebody outside the big three really take the fight to Penske, Ganassi, and Andretti, and O'Ward and Arrow McLaren SP did exactly that this year. And they were almost rewarded with a championship for it. But Alex Palou in particular, just for somebody at only 24 years old to come in only their second season and have a season like he had. And, like I said the last couple of weeks, imagine if he hadn't had the accident at Gateway and had the engine failure or mechanical failure at the IMS road course. He might have had the championship clinched up and made today kind of meaningless, in the championship fight. And maybe IndyCar be bringing back double points for next year to fix that problem, which I hope they don't do, because I'm fine with it at 500. You want to have your biggest race be worth double points, go ahead. But, I think it's pretty gimmicky if you do it at the end of the season. And I think what we saw today, you don't need it at the end of the season because, the IndyCar Series is so competitive, and we had a natural title fight come down to the last race once again. I think we're going on like 15, 16 seasons now since the last time that happened. I think Dan Weldon in 05 was the last one to clinch it before the end of the season, the final race. So, Alex Palou, I think, you talk about 2022. Obviously, it's still very early to be talking about your favorites. We mentioned Colton Herta, Roman Grosjean coming in with Andretti. I'm sure is going to be very, very strong. But, it's an incredibly competitive series. And you certainly can't count out Palou from repeating as champion. And I got to tell you, it's going to be really exciting to watch him in the years to come. And I hope he stays in the IndyCar Series for a while. And it sounds like he's got a great thing going with Ganassi. They've had a lot of drivers in that 10 car. He's the first one since Dario Franchitti retired that's really been able to match Scott Dixon and give him a run for his money. And, I hope we see them continue to battle for years to come.
Like I said before, Chip Ganassi finally found his guy for the future. When Scott Dixon retires, Alex Palou is going to be the leader of Chip Ganassi Racing, and he's already shown why he's a champion, not just for what he did on the track, but off the track as well. We've heard about all the stories of Palou following around Jimmy Johnson, who's won 7 NASCAR championships, and Scott Dixon with all of his IndyCar championships as well. Alex Palou seems like a sponge who's just soaking up and absorbing all of that knowledge, and he's showing at such a young age how to be a true champion. And I think he'll be a great ambassador for the IndyCar Series, representing the series as the 2021 champion. And overall, the championship battle was really, really entertaining all season long, and I think 2022 is going to be even closer. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be close like the current championship battle we're seeing right now in Formula One between Hamilton and Verstappen.
It's just amazing to think with Palou 1 championship, Scott Dixon 6 championships, that's 7 total, and then Jimmy Johnson 7 championships, 14 championships between the Chip Ganassi racing drivers. That is just a crazy stat just to think about. Of course, Jimmy doing all his championships with NASCAR, all that experience surrounding Alex Palou, just amazing. And of course, next year, Palou is going to be the defending champion. Chip Ganassi, they're going to be up there, of course. Palou, Dixon, Ericsson, Jimmy Johnson, he was getting faster and faster. Penske, Newgarden, they're going to be back. And of course, we're going to see some changes with Penske. What's going to happen with Simon Pageant and Reddy. Herta, he's looking strong. And Reddy could be back. And of course, we have Roman Grosjean in at 28 next year. And award, McLaren, it's going to be a stacked field next year for the IndyCar Series Championship. Starting with you, Adam. We have next year, Alex Palou, O'Ward, Herta, 3 young guns that are going to be contending for the championship, plus the veterans. Out of all the drivers, do you feel Palou is the early favorite that everyone has to go after, or is there another driver?
Oh, I believe Alex Palou next year is going to have a target on. Alex Palou next year is going to have a target on his behind, because he'll be the defending champion, and everybody will be going after him. You know, this championship has been so good all year long, and next year, I believe right now we're in the golden age of IndyCar racing, and if you're a fan of IndyCar racing, and you can remember back in the day when we had names like Andretti, Unser, Fittipaldi, Rick Mears, all those guys competing and winning IndyCar championships. Right now, we're talking about names like Herta, Ericsson, O'Ward, Palou, Grosjean, and we can't forget, I know this may sound crazy, but Scott McLaughlin won the Rookie of the Year, and he seemed very confident going into the offseason. Could Scott McLaughlin be a championship contender next year? You better believe it. That Kiwi could be coming after his fellow Kiwi, Scott Dixon, and all the other IndyCar drivers for the championship. So if this is any indication of what the future of IndyCar holds, next year's championship could be just as good as this year's.
It's a really good time to be an NTT IndyCar Series fan. And, I've got to think there's certainly no less than or no fewer than 10 drivers, just thinking off the top of my head, that you can realistically count them in as way too early favorites for the championship, if you will. We've got a lot of young talent in the series as well, but we also have, you still got the veterans that you can't count out, like Dixon and Newgarden, who were right up there battling to the very end as well. So I think if you had to pick a way too early favorite, it's hard to get bet against Palou and O'Ward based on the seasons they've just had. But Colton Herta's looked very good at the end of the season on the highest note you can end it on. And, I think if Andretti can step their game up a little bit, we've seen it from Rossi before. I know Rossi's had a couple of down years, but I wouldn't count him out entirely either. Grosjean as well looked very strong for Del Coyne and Rick Ware's effort this year. There's a lot of great talent in the IndyCar Series right now, and like I said, way too early to pick a championship favorite. But if you had to, it's hard to bet against the guy that just won the championship about an hour ago.
Yeah, definitely hard to bet against Alex Palou for the championship. I'm sure he's going to be very strong once again next season. Pato O'Ward, I'm sure he's going to look to respond to the disappointment in Long Beach. And Colton Herta, like I said before, he's carrying a whole bunch of momentum into 2022. And if he can clean up all the inconsistency and not have bad luck as often as we've seen, I think Colton Herta can definitely stomp the field and be the 2022 NTT IndyCar Series Champion. I just think a lot to think about over the offseason. It's going to be interesting to see how silly season shapes up, because apparently we're going to be getting some driver announcements in the near future.
Just looking at this list here, which is the IndyCar Championship that I've got in my commentary box notes. Definitely, Palou going to be a title contender, going to be the defender. O'Ward and Newgarden are going to come back strong. Is Dixon going to have a better season than just winning one race? Let's find out. Ericsson as well, he could be something as well if he can get that car under him as well. He crashed out as well today as well. Poor end to the race for him. Herta as well, my top pick for being the champion quite early on, as well as I think many of us might agree secretly as well, going down the order. Pagano, a winless season for him. When's the last time that happened as well? Same as well down the order. Graham Rahal didn't have great races today, just one podium in the second race at Texas. As I think you alluded to, Ben, as well. What happened to Alexander Rossi? It's the first season he's been winless at. He only had a second back at Portland. Must do better. VK even had a victory in the first race at Indianapolis as well. He could be quite strong next season as well. As you said, Scott McLaughlin, Jack Harvey, Roman Grosjean coming in. Don't forget the new guys as well. Callum Ilott coming in. He's going to be fast right off the deck. 2022 is going to be amazing. There's just too many people to call who could be champion. Room for a right proper dogfight as well. You've heard of Battle of Britain with the massive airplanes up there as well. I'll tell you what, we're about to see the battle for IndyCar over the American states as well. Was it 12 states we go to next year? They're going to be war zones, I can tell you.
And of course, we got drivers like Helio Castroneves. He's going to be full-time next year. It's going to be really exciting. He was up there leading. It was the first time he led a non-oval race in a really long time. And one of the teams I'm going to be looking at, Andretti Autosport. Crazy stat. We're starting 2022 next year. The last time Andretti Autosport won the Drivers' Championship, Ryan Hunter-Ray, 2012. I feel Andretti Autosport, Colton Herta, he could contend for the win at St. Pete, the season opener. And now that you're going to have Roman Grosjean in that 28, I think Andretti Autosport has to be one of the favorites when it comes to next year. And just between all four teams, when you look at McLaren, Penske, Chip Ganassi, and Andretti Autosport, those four teams are going to be contending week in and week out for the win. But never count out anybody in IndyCar, because all it takes a caution at the wrong time, strategy, or just a phenomenal drive. I mean, Callum Ilott, small team with no technical alliance, they could pull off the ultimate upset any given Sunday in 2022. That'll be a huge shining moment, and it's time for our grid shining moment.
That's right, Joe. It's time for our Grid One shining moment from this motorsports weekend. So, Josh, I'll start with you. What was your Grid One shining moment from this huge motorsports weekend?
I'm desperately trying to find it as well, and I can't. It's really disappointing. So I hope I get it right. It was Antonio, I think Nicholas Latifi, or no, I'll tell you what, I've remembered it because I've just seen it. And it was a young fan this morning coming into the track, and Antonio Giovinazzi had a grid penalty as well. Giovinazzi was really down and grumpy about it, but this young fan came up to him, asked him for his autograph, and then hugged him as well. I was like, oh, he's so sweet as well. And he put a massive smile on his face as well. So it just proves as well, having the fans back at motorsport events is so important to the drivers as well. And that little boy as well, his day was just made that his favorite driver signed his cap. He hugged him as well and just sat there having a chat for a couple of minutes. That is my shining moment because it made me smile as well on the way into the commentary box this morning. I desperately tried to find it so I could say any more, but it's disappeared. So maybe it wasn't on F1 Twitters, maybe it was on Alfa Romeo's. So come back to me at the end in case I find it. But honestly, that is my one shining moment. The warmth of fans as well and how much it means. And I'm just so happy about that. Put a smile on my face.
And my one shining moment has definitely got to go to Josh Berry for his big Xfinity victory last night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Josh Berry is literally living every Saturday night short track racer's dream right now. He was able to build a strong relationship with Junior Motorsports over the years, and eventually led to these opportunities to get some time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And Josh Berry is not a funded driver, so he's purely earned all of these opportunities on his talent and drive alone. And it's really inspirational for all those Saturday night short track racers who want to race in NASCAR but may not have the funds. Josh Berry's worked really hard for this opportunity. Took Michael Annette's #1 Pilot Flying J Chevrolet Camaro to victory lane last night. and it just shows why he's going to be moving up to Xfinity full time next season. I think as he continues to get more laps in these Xfinity cars, he's definitely going to be a championship contender in 2022. So that's why I'm giving my Grid 1 shining moment to Josh Berry. And also want to give an honorable mention to Sebastian Bourdais, who scored a top 10 today at Long Beach. And Lee Diffie from NBC Sports says that today's race at Long Beach is probably going to be Sebastian Bourdais' final IndyCar race as a full-time driver. And Sebastian Bourdais has been one of those names that we've grown accustomed to over the years in IndyCars. And it seems like his next chapter is going to be with Chip Ganassi Racing's Cadillac DPI sports car program, according to motorsport.com. And usually when open wheel careers over for a lot of those drivers, a lot of them extend their racing careers by going to sports cars. We knew Sebastian Bourdais is probably going to be going to sports cars at some point in his career, and it looks like the move is happening soon. And for Bourdais to go out there, get a top 10 AJ Fort Racing, with this likely been his final race as a full-time IndyCar Series driver, definitely a lot to smile about, and it's definitely going to be weird not seeing Sebastian Bourdais' name in these races moving forward.
For me, it has to go to Lewis Hamilton, 100 career Formula One wins. And of course, now Formula One has 23, 22 races a season. When he started, it was around 16 to 17. This is something we're probably not going to see again in our lifetime unless somebody goes out there and wins 10 plus races every year for the next 7, 8, 10 years. It's just phenomenal seeing what his career has started from that first win in the Canadian Grand Prix in 2007 to now. You can finally say he got that 100 career win, and he's trying to get that 8th championship.
There's just so much to pick from this weekend. You had a historic night in the ARCA West Series at Las Vegas with 5 women in that race, believed to be the most ever for that series. So that's a great sign for the series going forward. Kobe, like you mentioned, Josh Berry doing phenomenal things in Xfinity right now with Junior Motorsports and the opportunities that he's gotten. Had great drives from Lando Norris today, Max Verstappen coming from the back of the field, and of course Alex Palou, winning the IndyCar Series Championship. All great moments, but Joe, I think I've got to go with you on this one and give it to Sir Lewis Hamilton. I remember just a few years ago, everybody was saying, you talk about the unbreakable records in Formula One. Michael Schumacher's 91 wins wasn't going anywhere anytime soon because it's just such a staggering number. He's so far ahead of Prost in second with 51 wins, and yet Lewis has, nearly doubled Prost's total now. And, 100 wins signed on for 2 more years. The sky's the limit for what he could achieve at Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team. And he's just done such a phenomenal job, continuing to extend the dominance for so long. Whether you like him or you don't like him, at this point, you absolutely have to respect what he's been able to accomplish. And, if you're a true Formula One fan, I think you're going to appreciate it because this is something that, like you said, Joe, I'm not sure we're ever going to see anybody even come close to this number again. So, I got to give Lewis Hamilton my one shining moment because 100 wins is just simply outstanding.
And for me, I've got to give it to Colton Herta. And overall, this 2021 NTT IndyCar Series season, it's been one of the best IndyCar series that I can remember for a long, long time. We've had so much, we always talk about Alex Palou versus Pato O'Ward. It's been incredible. 2 young drivers duking out for this championship. We all thought it'd be someone like Scott Dixon or Alexander Rossi winning this championship. But to me, this year has been one of the best overall IndyCar series that I can remember for a long, long time. And Colton Herta proves today with his win that he is a force to be reckoned with in 2022 and in many, many years to come. So for me, my Grid 1 shining moment has to go to Colton Herta winning in Long Beach in the entire 2021 NTT IndyCar Series season.
The little boy's name was Nikita. By chance, he was staying in the same hotel as Antonio Giovinazzi. I'm not sure how Giovinazzi felt because he found out his entire fan club was staying in the same hotel. But nevertheless, Nikita waited by the entrance to the hotel as well, waiting for him to come out. Eventually, he jumped up and lit him and ran over to Antonio Giovinazzi. When he came down, he signed his hat as well, gave him a hug, and stayed chatting not only to Nikita but to the entire fan club as well. So a top guy, Antonio Giovinazzi. He didn't have radio throughout the entire race, by the way. So watch over as well, because I think he'll get a fair crack at the whip next time out in Turkey to drive for his seat at the second Alfa Romeo. And on about Aston Martin, Lance Stroll received a 10-second penalty for contact with Pierre Gasly during the race as well, and 2 penalty points on the license. And during that, you might have seen I was on my phone as well, because I got an email. Aston Martin intend to appeal not the decision for the 10 seconds, but the decision of 2 penalty points. They say they accept the fact that it was a circumstance of the fact that Stroll came on back onto the track dangerously, but they said, but due to the conditions at the time and him being on dry tyres, that he should not have been awarded the penalty points. They feel that's too harsh. And of course, right now, he's on 8 points. You get 12. It's a 1 race ban automatically. Speaking of which, Nico Hulkenberg, he's shining up his helmet ahead of the American Grand Prix.
Oh, man. Definitely a lot going on. Of course, be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network right here. We're going to have Grid tonight, all the latest news, and of course, in our channel, you can see also links and the video description about links to Ben's channel and Joshua's channel, who hit 250 subscribers. Congratulations to you and your channel.
Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, we know we're coming up to the NASCAR Cup Series, so be sure Wednesday, Grid tonight, Adam, Ben, and Kobe will be recapping the Cup Series Las Vegas race. Subscribe to YouTube right here, and of course our Patreon. Keep us on the air. Big special thank you to Robin, our newest one, and of course Colin Mark Deschelle for investing in the Grid Network for the longest time. And if you're looking to invest in the stock market, check out public.com. Use the referral code GRIDnet. You get $5 in free stock. The stock market social media page where everyone's an investor. For Joshua, Ben, Adam, and Kobe from the Podium Finish, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching today's program. Enjoy the NASCAR Cup Series race, and we'll see you Wednesday.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.